Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about K-Flock. Now, this K-Flock situation is crazy because K-Flock got arrested and he's been locked down for a while, man. He got arrested sometime last year, and since then, it seemed like, man, we haven't heard much about K-Flock. Now, what's crazy about it is he had such an impact on the drill movement in New York that his music lives on. The music has been still living on. His videos have been trending, stuff like that, right? And there was some hope there, at least for those who loved that New York drill music, Bronx drill music, that someday he would be coming home. Well, it looks like, based on some headlines for today, that is not a possibility anymore. Now, I'm not saying that K-Flock is guilty. Maybe he wins his trial, but his case, the first murder case that he got, has just been picked up by the feds. And it's been turned into a RICO indictment involving 6 or 7 other people. So before we get to the specifics and talk about what's going on with K-Flock in this investigation, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and man, let's get it. Okay, so now let's talk about K-Flock and this RICO indictment. Now, in this news story from the Rolling Stone, you see the headline. It says, rapper K-Flock indicted on federal racketeering murder charges. Now, for those of you who don't know, K-Flock was picked up last year for a shooting that took place outside of a barbershop. Now, K-Flock is alleged to be caught on videotape firing his gun and actually caught later afterwards, man. They pinned K-Flock to the murder, and it was a weird situation because it seemed like he committed the murder, if it was K-Flock, in broad daylight. Now, the story continues by saying this. It says, Bronx rapper born Kevin Perez amongst 8 alleged gang members charged with racketeering on Thursday. So they just dropped this today, man. They unsealed the indictment and let it be known that K-Flock is one of the main suspects in this situation. Now, if you look at the story, it starts off by saying Bronx rapper K-Flock was among the 8 alleged gang members indicted on federal racketeering charges Thursday, with the rapper also accused of murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and conspiracy. K-Flock, born Kevin Perez, faces a mandatory life in prison sentence if convicted on all charges. Now, what's wild about this situation is this couldn't have happened at a worse time. Because to be real with you, K-Flock was bubbling out here. I'm talking about really getting some good looks. Now, he might have had some little issues that he had at Rolling Loud where, you know, him and some other people had got into it. But other than that, like, everything was up for K-Flock as far as rap is concerned. It's wild that he would throw away all that opportunity because his name was really buzzing out here and commit a murder, man. It's crazy, man. But let's be real. That Bronx drill culture is filled with a lot of shootings and a lot of deaths, man. Like, a lot of those people who actually came up with the Bronx drill sound and, you know, started to work with the Brooklyn drill guys, they've either been locked up or arrested. And the same with another guy by the name of Zay Munna. And he's actually mentioned in the indictment as well. He got locked up last year as well. So it looks like they're lumping all this together because even though they're 2 separate crews, they feel like they're running together as something organized. Now, the story continues by saying Perez is already behind bars awaiting trial for state murder charges related to the December 2021 shooting death of Oscar Hernandez, the same victim listed in the federal indictment. The indictment alleges that Perez and 5 other male defendants were members of Sevside, or DOA, a street gang based in the Bronx. Now, there has been a lot of back and forth between Sevside and some other groups on social media. Like, K-Flock has taken it to social media several times to either diss his ops or to directly say that he was looking for them over social media. It was some of the wildest stuff that you will ever see because it was so blatant and bold when you think about it, right? Now, 3 alleged members of an opposing Bronx street gang dubbed Third Side were also indicted. Now, what's crazy about this, in the indictment, it mentions them, and I swear it talks about them like they're like these 2 sides are actually related or something. But here in the news story, they're saying that they're actually adversaries. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at this, man. Let's let's finish out this story, then we'll check out the indictment. Now, in quotes, it says, over a span of several years, the members of these gangs allegedly terrorized neighborhoods in the Bronx and Manhattan by killing and shooting other people. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a statement, Through these charges, we hold Sev Side and Third Side members responsible for plaguing our communities with gun violence and letting it be known that they want to put an end to all this senseless gun violence that's taking place right now out there in New York, man. Because, there was a point there where New York had cleaned up and it was really, really safe. And it seems like a part of it, and I don't want to blame the music, but with drill, man, a lot of these guys who are really active in the streets, it seemed like it raised the level of activity and what they were doing out there. Now, the NYPD Commissioner, Kenchant L. Sewell, added, in quotes, deadly nexus gangs and illegal guns in New York City is a grave threat to public safety in our city. Combating this crisis is NYPD's top priority. And today's indictments are another step toward ridding our streets of violence and fear. So basically letting it be known that they feel like these shootings and these gang-related activities are what's really plaguing New York at this time. Now, also, it says, in the case of the murder charge against Perez, now this is K. Flock, who faces the most serious charges in the indictment. Prosecutors stated that on or about 16 December 2021, Perez knowingly murdered and aided and abetted the murder of Oscar Hernandez in the vicinity of 151st Street and Amsterdam Avenue in New York City. Perez recklessly engaged in conduct which created a grave risk of death to another person and thereby caused the death of Hernandez and aided and abetted the same. Now, there's a videotape that was out there, and it was real grainy footage, and it looked like K-Flock walking past the barbershop. Somebody walks outside the barbershop and says something to him, and then he goes back and allegedly is K-Flock, because you can barely see who it is. Allegedly, he turns around and starts firing, and you see the guy fall and lose his life. You know what I'm saying? Like, just that fast. And it's crazy, man, that they actually caught that on camera. Now, it finishes by saying K-Flock was an emerging drill rapper whose breakout hit Shake It, featuring Cardi B, was released in April 2022, 4 months after Perez was charged in the 2021 killing of Hernandez outside of a Harlem barbershop. So what's crazy is, it seems like they were traveling all over, man. They was actually making moves in order to, carry out these quote-unquote shootings and hits. Now, this right here, let's talk about this. Now, this is straight from the Department of Justice website, and they list everything that they included in the indictment. Now, you see that this is the Southern District of New York. Now, that is like the famed District of New York. It's usually put in a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. They pretty much wrap up every case with a win. Like, the best thing that could happen to K-Flock in this situation is some kind of plea, because what they're angling for is for him to be losing his life in this situation. You know what I mean? Now, the headline says 8 members of Bronx gang Sev Side and Third Side charged with murder, racketeering, and related violent offenses. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney of the Southern District of New York, and Kenchant L. Sewell, Commissioner of the New York City Police Department, announced the unsealing today of an indictment charging Kevin Perez, a.k.a. K-Flock, a.k.a. K, a.k.a. KK, Devin Manson, a.k.a. BJ, Irvin Beeman, a.k.a. EJ, Nicholas Johnson, a.k.a. Nick, Sean Smith, a.k.a. Sticky, and Josie Castro, a.k.a. Jesse, with racketeering, conspiracy, and other crimes related to their membership in Sev Side, or DOA, a street gang based in the Bronx, New York. Now, the Bronx has been pretty crazy, and a lot of people have been talking about how wild the Bronx was all last year, man. And to be honest, it seems like it's slowed down a little bit since these arrests. So does that prove that, man, these arrests are actually working? Maybe, just maybe, right? Now, on January 26, 2023, a superseding indictment was unsealed charging Isaiah Rousen, a.k.a. Zay Munna, a.k.a. Zay, and Michael Gant, a.k.a. AP, with racketeering, conspiracy, and other crimes related to their membership in Third Side, a street gang also based in the Bronx, New York, that was closely affiliated with Sev Side. Perez was also charged with the gang-related murder of Oscar Hernandez, who was shot to death on December 16, 2021, in the Hamilton Heights section of Upper Manhattan. Perez, Mason, Beeman, Johnson, Rousen, and Gant were further charged with multiple other violent crimes in connection with Sev Side and Third Side gangs, including attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon, arising from 7 shootings committed in the Bronx between June 2020 and February 2020. The Sev side indictment, hold up, let's go back to that. So they committed all these shootings between June 2020 and February 2022. So, man, these cats was out there wilding, man. Like, this wasn't no one-off situation or incident. These cats were obviously super active in them streets. Now, what I'm trying to get was Sev side and we're third side in this together because they're in the same indictment. It's odd to have separate gangs like the Rolling Stones story talks about, opposing gangs in the same indictment, right? Now, the Sev side indictment is assigned to the United States District Judge Louis J. Lemon, and the third side indictment is assigned to United States District Judge Paul A. Engelmayer. So it looks like they have two different judges, so maybe they are opposing sides. That's what it seems like. Now, Rowson and Gant are currently in federal custody in connection with the charges contained in the third side superseding indictment. Mason, Johnson, and Castro were arrested this morning in the Bronx and are expected to be presented later today before Magistrate Judge Valerie Figueroa. Perez, who was in state custody, has been transferred to federal custody and is also expected to be presented later today. Smith and Beeman are fugitives. So two people are on the run right now, or fugitives from the law until they turn themselves in, right? So what's crazy about this situation is it got that much worse for K-Flock. Like, him beating these charges in the state level, maybe. Anything's possible, right? But this got boosted up to the federal level and to the worst district court you can get in the federal level in New York City. It looks like, man, K-Flock is going to be seeing a lot of time in jail, man. Now, let's skip a little bit. All right, so let's talk about this section right here. Now, it talks about this. It says, according to the allegations in the Sev side indictment and the third side superseding indictment and statements previously made on the record in this case and related matters, from at least 2019 to 2022, members of Sev side and third side, two street gangs based in the 40th precinct in the Bronx, New York, align with one another to terrorize their own and surrounding neighborhoods by committing indiscriminate shootings against members of rival street gangs. Members of the gangs also promoted the gangs and gun violence on social media and through music they created and prompted, which reference real acts of violence. Now, we know with drill music, that's a part of the appeal for some fans. That's a part of the appeal for a lot of people. The fact that these guys be keeping it real on the tracks, they be talking about real things that they've been through and sharing their experiences. But they're saying in this indictment, they might have shared a little bit too much. They was talking too much because they basically put out the information on all the acts that they were allegedly committing. Now, it goes on to say for years, Sev side and third side engaged in disputes with rival crews in the Bronx and in Manhattan, which resulted in numerous acts of violence, including the following. Now, Perez, that's K-Flock, murdered Oscar Hernandez in broad daylight in Manhattan on December 16th, 2021. I always said that. I was like, man, this is crazy that K-Flock would actually try to do that in broad daylight in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't a busy street, but man, people can see you easy on that street, man. There was camera footage and all. Now, Perez and Gant, so that's K-Flock and another Gant and Rowson. Now, Rowson is Zay Munna. So that's Zay Munna and K-Flock shot a rival gang member on June 20th, 2020. Johnson shot at a rival gang member on 2020, on June 26, 2020. Gant shot at a rival gang member on July 7th, 2020, and Gant shot at a rival member on July 16th, 2020. Rowson shot at a rival gang member on December 13th, 2020, and Perez, Mason, Beeman shot at a rival gang member on November 10th, 2021, and Mason shot at a rival gang member and hit an innocent bystander in February 2022, man. So these dudes was doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, besides shooting, drilling, and making music, what else was they doing with their life? Now let's look at this last part. The charges contained in the indictment and superseding indictment are merely accusations, and the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Now, these are the charges that they're being charged with. So you see for K-Flock, he's at the top. And the crazy part about it is K-Flock is only 19 years old. But look at those charges, man. Racketeering conspiracy, murder in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm resulting in the death attempted murder, and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder, and assault with a dangerous weapon. And look at his possible sentence. Minimum and maximum penalties, mandatory life in prison or death. That's his minimum and maximum. So the best case scenario for K-Flock is life in prison, and the worst case for K-Flock is a death sentence. Wow, bro.
Bruh.
Ain't no love in the streets, man. Y'all stay out of crime, man. Think about that. At 19 years old, if he's found guilty, his life is completely over. Now, Devin Mason, it looks like he's facing some of the similar charges. He has a maximum of life in prison and a mandatory minimum of 20 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. Irvin Beeman, same thing. But let's look at Zay Munna. Isaiah Rowson, right? Says racketeering, conspiracy, attempted murder, and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder, and assault with a dangerous weapon, transportation and receipt of a firearm while under felony indictment. So they said Zay Munna was still trying to get access to a weapon or got access to a weapon after he was already under a felony indictment. Now, his maximum is going to be life sentence in prison, and his mandatory minimum is 20 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. So for K-Flock and for Zay Munna, it looks like their rap careers are over, bro. Ain't no other way around it, man. Like, there's no way they can come back after that many years. You know, most of these rappers be praying they get less than 5 years. But when you're looking at the death penalty, man, that's crazy, man. That is no situation anybody wants to be in or hear that from a judge. And what's crazier about that is if he would have had the state charge, I don't think he would have been looking at the death penalty. But this is the cards that he's going to be facing going forward. But what do y'all think about this situation, man? Do you think that K-Flock in some way can beat this? Or do you think that since that video has come out and we've all seen it and a lot of people are saying it's K-Flock, I'm not saying that, is it impossible for him to beat this case? And is it a possibility that he might have to plea out for the rest of his life in jail in order just to save and preserve his life? Now with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.